And we are live. Welcome, everybody. Plumecast, another week. And this week's a extremely special week, actually, because it's, as you can see, I mean, if you guys can see the screen right now, I have the first ever guest for Plumecast. As you guys know, I do this thing solo, trying to get more guests on here, and I'm very, very excited to announce here the Sour Blow 18 he has his own channel, and he's also a member of the Xbox International podcast, which I've been on a couple of times. A great podcast. Make sure to go check that out. I will have all the links and stuff in the description below. But welcome, Sour. Welcome to Plumecast. Thank you for being the first guest here. How you doing tonight? How you doing this Saturday night?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm actually very honored to be your first guest. I've been a fan of your show, and I think you do great content. And I'm doing great. I'm pretty excited, pretty stoked to be here and talk games.
Awesome. So like I said, you have your own channel. You do fan trailers, right?
Yes.
And then you Xbox International. So if you guys haven't checked out his fan trailers, you just had one up recently, the Call of Duty one.
Yeah, a little spicy there, but it's all for fun. It's Sour Blow 18 on my YouTube channel, and I'm just grab a bunch of trailers and then I make my own trailer, my own music, and I use, for example, Silent Cypher, who's also on Xbox International. He helps me out with the voiceover, and I'm looking in the future to grab people from the community that wants to do different thing, voiceover, or even that wants to record, maybe do commercials and stuff like that. That's something I would like to do. And then on the Crazy Loot channel, we got Xbox International every Wednesday.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. The Call of Duty trailer, I saw it on your Xbox International last week. It was hilarious. The quotes you were using from Jim Ryan to sell the game. I mean, it's honestly, Xbox should look at those quotes that he's saying, hypes up Call of Duty, right? There can be no competitor ever.
Yeah, I mean, probably maybe they can't use all of them, but at least some of those quotes, I think they can somehow manage to use them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's literally like a walking billboard right now with some of the stuff he's saying to like easily be used against. But that's for another discussion. Anyways, Plumecast, as you guys know, every week on the Plumecast, I drink a beer, and I have one of my favorite ones here from a little town in Ontario called Embrun, and it's a pale ale. It's a very light pale ale. It's not like too hoppy or anything. Delicious, and it's called Tuc Doré, which is French for all you people out there who understand French. Great beer, and this is what I'm drinking tonight. Are you drinking anything tonight, Sour Blow? Like anything at all?
I actually just finished drinking. I was drinking some Dominican rum, Brugal. If anyone's from Dominican Republic in the chat, you should probably know what it is. But right now, I'm just drinking sparkling water because I already had like 2 glasses and like
You're responsible.
That's it, no more.
Yeah, responsible. Yeah. Responsible. That's probably a good call. So let's just get into talking about what we've been playing this week. I'll kick things off here. I've been playing 2 things mainly. Once I put out an unboxing video on my channel the other day, which I started playing like 2 days ago. The Cowabunga collection, which jumps into like all of the old Turtles games, which is like super cool. I've beaten already, I think, 3 of them. The NES arcade version, the NES TMNT 2, the arcade one, and actually I've beaten 4 Tournament Fighters and Turtles in Time, which is an absolute masterpiece. It's like one of the best games I think literally ever made. Loved Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. And then I've been playing the Call of Duty open beta, which I have mixed thoughts on it. It's cool. It's shiny. Graphics are incredible. But there's a lot of stuff in it that's kind of annoying. Like, it's definitely a game we can see right now built for campers, I would say. And like, it doesn't give me that like rush run and guns feel that I had back in the day playing Modern Warfare 2 on the 360. But other than that, I think like it's a beta. They'll improve it. But those are the 2 games I've been playing. What have you been playing this week, Sour?
Oh, I've been playing Vanquish. That's what I've been playing the most. I also been playing Witcher. I think I'm gonna be playing it until a really big game that I want to play comes out. But Witcher and Vanquish, I believe probably by tomorrow or Monday early, I think I'll beat the game. I'm like in chapter 4. I mean, sorry, Act 4, chapter 5 or something, 7 or something, 6. I don't know. I'm pretty far along, but it's a pretty cool game. It's an Xbox 360 game, and
It's a Sega game, right? Is it, or is it? Am I
I
thinking
don't
of?
know if it's Sega, because I know before this one I played that one was Sega Binary Domain,
Oh, okay.
which I love that game. That game's really good. It's a Sega game, like kind of Gears. This one's also kind of like a third person shooter where you use how you call it, cover, where you
Okay.
you you, you cover up. But the difference with this one is, since you got kind of like an exosuit or something like that, that you can use your speed to kind of like go through some of these other machines that you're battling and other enemies, and you have a lot of like kind of like boss fights and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool game.
Nice. Since it's 360, so it's part of the backwards compatibility and stuff that they have.
Yes.
Nice. Does it
Mhm.
have like does it have like any of the upgrades like auto or FPS boost and stuff, or is it just straight? Or can you?
Honestly, I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but I think it has a 60 FPS boost. I'm assuming, but because I don't feel it like you like playing funny or anything like that. Like
Okay.
it plays well enough.
Okay. Cool. I mean, that's like for me, the backwards compatibility is one of my favorite things of
Yeah,
Xbox, especially when you jump in and it's like auto HDR and it literally looks like a brand new game, like the original Xbox games, like the Panzer
yeah.
Dragoon game. Oh my god, that game looks great on Series X and S with the auto HDR. Literally a brand new game. But yeah, and you haven't checked out the MW2 beta at all yet?
No, no, I haven't. I decided to just wait for it. I know eventually it's gonna come to Game Pass,
Yeah.
and I was never like a huge Call of Duty fan. Um, Back then I played it a lot. Before I would say Modern Warfare 1, and then before that. But it was never like, my brother is the one that's pretty huge into the Call of Duty.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I like I'm playing through. I know I'm getting back on Modern Warfare 2, but like I loaded it up and man, it looks, if you played all of the recent Call of Duties like Vanguard as well, just absolutely incredible graphics. Probably some of the graphics I've seen in a game. And it's fun, it's great, and it has I think the potential to be one of the best Call of Duties. It's just so many little things that I hope they change before the game comes out, like the footsteps and the ability and like your movement I wish was a little bit faster. But again, I guess that's why it's a beta and they have a month to change it. So I'll probably be jumping into more of that after this show because I want to like make sure that I play as much as I can before the official release. And unfortunately, obviously it's not coming to Game Pass right away based off of all the stuff that's going on with them looking further into the deal, which is my perfect segue into the next topic here, or into the first topic. So we got a lot to talk about. First thing we're going to be talking about today is Satya Nadella. I made a video about this on Friday and him talking about competition. As we know, Sony, they don't really seem to want to stand for competition right now. They're probably they're doing whatever they can to kind of make sure that this deal doesn't go through. We know with the CMA, they're looking further into it. And one of the main causes for that, stemming all the way back from when we saw the documents come out from the Brazilian authority and committee, is them saying that it's going to be hard for companies to compete, for them to compete, to make a competitor to Call of Duty. And Satya Nadella pretty much just kind of called their bluff in this interview with Bloomberg. It was in a video as well. And he says this: of course, any acquisition of this size will go through scrutiny, but we feel very, very confident that will come out. I mean, he's the head, the CEO of Microsoft. I would hope that he believes that. So, and then he says, if you want to compete, let's compete. Pretty much saying to PlayStation, listen, you guys have been at the top for a long time now. You guys have had Call of Duty for a marketing deal for since 2015. They've made you the most amount of money on your platform. And now we're going to be getting all of that. We're going to be getting the marketing. People are going to start thinking about Xbox when it comes to Call of Duty, which is going to be huge for them. And you're going to have to compete with this one way or another, whether that's making your own game, whether that is going out, I guess, making other deals to try to compete in terms of getting good first person shooters on the platform that people want to play. But trying to stop this deal isn't competing, is pretty much being afraid of competing with an up and coming, I guess, platform since the Xbox One, since they kind of blew that launch. And let's compete. I mean, that's the way I see it. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think about PlayStation trying to block the deal, first of all? And what do you think about Nadella pretty much smiling and calling their bluff and his confidence in doing that?
Yeah, well, in a way, I do understand why PlayStation, of course, they don't want this deal to go through because Call of Duty is their biggest moneymaker. And, you know, they 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 must know something that we don't know, or at least they should know more than we know, so they know how much financially this is going to hurt them. And I think that I think the problem I have with this is the way Jim Ryan has expressed himself about the the whole acquisition, where he's putting his studios, like he's basically throwing them aside and telling the public and telling everyone that his studios, which everyone considered to be these huge AAA studios that make some of the best games, which I agree, that they cannot make anything even close to Call of Duty, which to me it's even if this is true, if they can't make a game like this, I don't know if that's something like that you would want to like tell them. Like that's like if you have a company and you have your employees that you say they do great work, but then you see another company that they they have employees that do great, and you're like, none of my employees can do none of this work, I don't think they can do it. And you're saying it like to the public where they are listening to this, like how are they gonna feel about this? Like that's something I'm curious about too.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's a great point. If you're working in one of their studios, you're sitting there and your boss is pretty much saying that he doesn't believe in you. And then you have to go to
yes,
work the next day and still make their games. I mean, like, I don't know. That's like, as a leader, it seems not the way to go. It almost seems like the more that he talks, the more the PlayStation is talking about this deal, I think it's giving them bad PR in general. I was thinking about this just today and I was like, the PlayStation, like if you look at PlayStation, what they've been doing, you got to give it to them, and their marketing, first of all, is on point. It's been on point for a really long time. The way they've been able to build up a loyal fan base has been absolutely incredible. You have fans now that will literally go out of their way to pay more money for some of their products and some of their games. But if you look at the Xbox One and PS4 generation, the Xbox One really started off bad. And I would say up until 2017, when Phil Spencer took over really and started trying to expand Xbox with like the One X and then Game Pass and eventually Xbox Cloud Gaming, Xbox they pretty much threw in the towel right from the start of the Xbox One generation. And if you're somebody who doesn't really follow gaming that hard, you probably are looking at gaming right now and you're still thinking that PlayStation is like the place to play and all that type of stuff. And now Jim Ryan's kind of just outing themselves, making people who probably don't pay attention that much to the video game industry, making these comments that are going to go to more mainstream. Like it's going to go to like all the like finance websites, going to go to like all the investors and all that type of stuff, right? And you're starting to see kind of just like the anti-consumer side of PlayStation, when they could have literally just been not said anything, try to compete. Once this deal went through, they have Killzone, they have Resistance. Those were two huge games on like the PS3, PS4, PS3 for Resistance, but There's yeah, mainly PS3. And they could have taken something, tried to build that up and tried to compete, but instead they're going this route, which I think is kind of hurting them in the long run. And I think people are going to start to really see what PlayStation has been doing, look further into it, and then hey, maybe like switch to Xbox just because of some of the stuff that's coming out from this. I don't know. Do you think that do you agree with that? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like adding to that, I think the problem with PlayStation, I think they were caught pretty off guard because the thing is, Xbox is they're like they're competing with them, but they're competing with them in an entirely different like method, which is completely different to what gaming is accustomed to. You know, usually like even from the get go, like I saw things that were kind of like extremely different where people were like criticizing Sony, and I was like, you know, in a way it's something that, for example, the controllers, for example, usually when you get a new console, you don't think about using your old controllers on your new console,
Yeah.
but Xbox did it because they're doing it, you know, the friendly way and the friendly approach and the whole ecosystem. And people are like, wait a minute, so I don't have to spend more money on extra controllers. This is great. So they're like, why isn't PlayStation doing it? And you know, and they were caught off guard with a lot of things like this, and then the whole ecosystem with the cloud, with Game Pass, and that's something that's entirely different. That's no one was like, this is not usual for gaming, and
Yeah.
that caught them off guard for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is this the first generation where they have backwards compatible peripherals? I guess like with the Nintendo Wii, you could use like a GameCube controller, but like they also had their own controllers, right?
Yeah,
But I guess of the series, they also had their own controllers, but they're essentially just the Xbox One controllers with slight variations. I feel like this is the first real console where they really embrace that backwards compatibility, knowing how many controllers people have at home already from previous generations or from the Xbox One.
yeah, and not only that, like you can use your new controllers on your older cons.
Oh, honestly, I didn't even think about that. 'Cause
Yeah,
I haven't booted up my Xbox One since the series. So yeah, I've never tried that. But that I actually didn't even honestly didn't even know that. That's actually a really good thing. I guess that
yeah.
makes sense
So
because they're trying to push the new products that come out, and there's
the
still a
new
lot of
product,
people that have
yeah.
Xbox One.
And then the thing is, like for example, let's say you have a gaming room where that's where you have your Series X, but then in the living room you have an old Xbox One. Then you can just switch around the controller, which is pretty easy to just, you know, sync them up, and you can travel around the rooms, and that's something that's great from the Xbox ecosystem. You can go anywhere like they're, you know, advertising.
Yeah, and they continuously expanding out to more products, like with the I know this isn't a controller, but the Logitech G Cloud
Oh
handheld
yeah,
thing. They're continuously doing more stuff like that. And when it comes to controllers, so like I have my DualSense here. Okay, like honestly, very nice controller, feels good. I like it. It's not bad. I have no real gripes against the DualSense. But I was playing like last weekend. I was playing Call of Duty, and all of the things that they sell this controller on, like the haptics and the adaptive triggers and stuff, I turned all that stuff off playing Call of Duty. Like it really like hurt the experience. So there's little things like that too where I don't know.
yeah,
Sometimes it's good to innovate on stuff like this, but then sometimes it's like innovating for just to innovate when you already have a perfect product is going to make the experience worse. And I think like the Xbox controller, in my opinion, since the 360, and even since like honestly the S type on the OG Xbox. I don't know if you remember that one. Like that, the ergonomics they had going with that, with like the analog sticks not lined up and stuff, has been the perfect controller for me. So I don't really want them to change too much with it, but yeah, it's just like looking at a consumer friendly company making all these consumer friendly moves, and then a company who's just kind of trying to stay the course, even though there is a lot of resistance from the industry as a whole, and then doing stuff like this and coming out and then I mean, it kind of leads me into the next thing I want to talk about here, which has to do with because we know one of the best things for Xbox, right, is Xbox Game Pass, and putting all the games day one. There is this article that came out from Shuei Yoshida, who commented on PlayStation Plus and using PlayStation Plus to put new games on or breathing new lives into games. So he was asked about this. He was asked about the different games on there, asked about like Stray, Rocket League, and all that type of stuff. And his opinion on putting games into PlayStation Plus, new games. Here's what he says. For Extra, our approach is so PlayStation Plus Extra. Our approach is we like to help the publishers with lifecycle management. I was managing first party, so I know that it's like. Okay. So I guess I wonder. Sometimes it's hard to read these quotes. I was managing first party, so I know that it's like in the movies. A movie comes out at the theaters first, then goes to pay-per-view or a subscription service or free TV every time, generating new revenue and reaching out to broader audience. In the same kind of way, we believe in the premium release of a title at launch, and after maybe 6 months or 3 months or 3 years, when the game's sales come down, inclusion into this service, PlayStation Plus Extra, can help introduce these games to new and broader audiences. So from that, it sounds like they have no interest right now in putting their new first-party PlayStation games into PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium. What do you think at any point they're going to change their stance on this? So what do you think, like, from what he says here, what are your thoughts on just, I guess, whole quote, and like, do you agree with what he's saying here about the different life cycles of these games?
Yeah, I honestly think I actually mentioned this last episode on Xbox International. Is right now they don't have the game structure to make it feasible to like put games day one. Because if you think about it, most of their games are just what people call one and done. Not, not throwing shades to them. They're great games, but they're games that, you got a certain amount of hours of them. Once you beat them, it's not really much you can do rather than just go back, get collectibles, etc. So if you put them into the service, people would probably just pay a month, beat it, and then unsubscribe and wait to the next game, which that's not what they want. So what they need is, they need those multiplayer games that will get people invest, those live service game, which they are making. And I think right now they're just, using PR to, you know, of course, hype their current games on. But I think eventually when these games start coming out, if they start hitting, they will start using that into the subscription, especially if Xbox keep pushing, because whether you're a fan or not of Xbox, eventually you're gonna be like, okay, this is already for me it's too much of a great deal, but with everything coming 2023, if it hits, it's gonna put a lot of pressure on PlayStation to do the same.
Yeah, I agree. I think when we look at 2022, I mean 2022, everyone's so short-sighted. Yes, Xbox delayed all of their big hitters, and I've said this in previous videos where it's like it's disappointing they didn't have any sort of like contingency plan to kind of back up in case all these big games got delayed. Not because I really care that much, because I play so many different games and there's always something for me to play in Game Pass, but just for like the look of it and Game Pass and the PR. But I guess the way the consoles are selling, it doesn't even really matter. But once 2023 hits and they see like the amount of people, like you said, jumping in and signing up to Xbox Game Pass to play Starfield, to play Redfall, to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I feel like PlayStation is, their entire tune on this thing is going to change. And I agree with you with what you said about them and their games and why they can't really put their games right now, because they are kind of one and done games, which is why I believe they've said they're trying to work on like 10 or something by like 2026 live service games, which will keep people coming back into PlayStation Plus. So
Yeah, yeah. I actually I gave last episode a solution for that, but I won't say it again because if I do, you probably will lose all your audience.
oh, well, like how bad is it? That's what
Well,
just say. My audience is cool.
I'll
I have
say
a
it.
cool audience.
I'll say it. Something they can do to to fix this is just releasing them in chapters.
like
Chapter one this month, and then next month chapter two,
Starfield
and so on.
in chapters, or
No, like for example, you grab God of War,
oh,
for
okay,
example, and then you break it down like in
yeah,
10 chapters.
yeah. I don't know how well that would go over. I don't know if they,
Yeah,
yeah, actually, but you know what? What they could do is they could charge $10 per chapter and release like 10 to 12 chapters and make $120 off of all of the fanboys that are willing to pay and wanting to pay more for every PlayStation game, right? You never know.
they can do that.
It
I
could work.
guess.
But yeah, that's actually
uh,
that but that's like one thing I find from this quote is one thing I find is you really see the approach of like first party PlayStation games is they I guess we kind of already knew this, but they really consider themselves more along the lines of like movies in terms of their production and when they release them out. Because he's comparing everything here to movies and to TV, but at the same time, you look at something like Netflix, right? Netflix has high production movies and TV shows all the time that they make, and then they release right into the service on day one. So it's like I don't know. There's both ways that they can do it. I was even the other day PlayStation tweeted out about Sly Cooper and like their 20th anniversary, and I was just thinking to myself, they have such a rich back catalog of IPs that they just never dive into anymore because of like the virtuous cycle that they always talk about. And it would be great if they decided to like even dive into some of those older games, then maybe release like one or two of them into the service, into extra or premium or whatever. And
yeah,
see,
I think there's a lot of things they can do. Like they can add Crunchyroll, they can add, you know, movies and stuff. Because I understand, they probably are not going to be able to compete, head to head with Microsoft, but
yeah.
they have other ways they can try to compete.
Yeah, it's hard when you're facing a $1 trillion company that's been poked and
Yeah,
well now realizes that they got to take the gaming industry seriously with the amount of money in it because obviously it's taken them this long to kind of realize it. They weren't taking it nearly as seriously back before right now. Like they were taking it seriously, but now it's like I think it's going to be becoming one of the pillars of Microsoft with the amount of resources they're investing into it. But
yeah.
quickly before we move on here, I gotta get to a couple of the super chats here. We got Mr. Joanna Dark here saying, I want to say hello to Plume and to my dude Sour Blow 18. Also, Plume, have you ever played a great game named Resident Evil Code Veronica? If so, did you like it? I feel like the first time I was on XBI, we talked about this. And I said I haven't played it, I own it, but I feel like this is some sort of inside joke with you guys. I could be wrong, but I feel like it is.
It's a horrible game.
Yeah, I
Don't
feel.
don't listen to him. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't played it, but we just toy around with him. That it's a horrible game. He loves the game, but
So I'm guessing
um,
you wouldn't want a remake of Code Veronica.
I wouldn't really care about that. But if it does, great for him. I know he will be super excited for it.
Okay, from Eternal Shaddai. Good evening. I was recommended by Sour. Great show. Thank you, Eternal. Thank you for showing up. Thanks for the $2 super chat. Appreciate it. And thank you for Sour for recommending Plumecast. I mean,
But yeah, he's a great guy too.
awesome.
He's actually let me announce it here. He's our next week guest. So
Oh, nice. I'll be tuning in. I tune in every Wednesday. What time is it? Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern.
yes.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure the chat knows because I may have forgotten to link it in the description below, but I will at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that. All right. So we've talked about Game Pass. We talked about PlayStation. Talked about Satya Nadella. Let's talk a little bit here about Cyberpunk and the revival of Cyberpunk because it's been pretty crazy how this game has come back in the last week since their latest update. So as we know, Cyberpunk 2077, right? It's a game with mixed, I guess, feelings for a lot of people. They had a terrible release. You could say they lied a lot to in the marketing for this game, essentially releasing it on the PS4 and the Xbox One completely broken. And I think even on like the PS5 and the Xbox Series, it wasn't in the best state that it could have been. And there was just terrible PR. Like their stock dropped after they released the game, and it wasn't good. And now we've gotten an update 1.6 for Cyberpunk, which has seemed to completely have revitalized this game. What, we're about 2 years, I think, since it released, came out in 2020. So 2 years later,
Yes.
yeah. So 2 years later, they've completely revitalized it, and apparently now they have about one point. They have over 1 million new and returning players within Cyberpunk 2077, which I think is a crazy comeback for them. So they say every day the past week, Cyberpunk 2077 has seen 1 million new and returning players prowling the streets of Night City. The numbers stated are combined across all platforms, but Steam alone has reported average concurrent players doubling over the past month. And this is with the Edge Runners 1.6 update, which I believe has put the game in the best state, and it has like the all these updates for it that are making it run smoother. And then they also released the Netflix series, the
Yes.
anime, which I've watched the first episode, and I have to say it is pretty damn good for like the art style and everything that they're going for. I have to finish that, which has probably got a lot more people interested in the game. So I have a couple questions here I want to talk about. One, what are your thoughts on them coming back? And two, do you think this is something that 343 and Halo need to look at as a way to try to get more people back into Halo? And do you think Halo could ever do something like this and revitalize the game the way the Cyberpunk has done it?
All right. Well, before that, I know you didn't ask me, but I the TV series I actually also saw just episode one. So
Yeah.
it started out pretty good, interesting. Now, going to your questions now. Your first question, I actually haven't jumped into Cyberpunk again, but for me, my experience was actually a great experience on the first try. I played it on Xbox Series S, and I did have like 3 to 4 bugs at most, and there was just like bugs like maybe a car disappeared or my gun disappeared. It wasn't nothing major. So for me it was a great experience. I understand people were pissed because of their um because they probably played it on the old console, or even I heard people having issues on Series X, Series S, PlayStation 5, which you know unfortunately it's unfortunately that they had to go through this inconvenience. Um I think 343, they kind of had to lie because of the investor. I felt like it felt like the investor had a lot of say on this game, and they had a lot of pressure on this. I'm not defending them, but that's what I felt. So I would like them to actually somehow be purchased, maybe by someone that they don't have to worry about investor. That would be great. But well, sorry, what was your first question again? Did I
Just
answer it?
like, are you, yeah, are you surprised? Are you surprised that they've come back? Really? I mean, I'm not that surprised that Cyberpunk has come back.
No,
But I
no,
don't know.
I'm not. Especially now that I'm playing The Witcher 3, and
Yeah.
I invested like I have to be around 50 hours or 50-hour plus, who knows. And the game, as I've heard from many people, the game was actually broken too when it came out. So um,
I
I
played it way after release, so I'm not sure.
yeah, they seem to be had a lot of problems also with their engine. That's why they're switching now to Unreal Engine. And hopefully they can get things together for their next release, and it doesn't come out broken. And then your next question was, do you think Halo could come back?
Yeah.
I actually, yeah.
Before I should have asked one at a time, but before you get that, I do want you to answer that question. Have you been seeing the Forge stuff that's been going on with
Yes.
Halo? There
Oh
there
yes.
there is like some craziness going on here. I don't know if you saw this, but this guy made an entire battle royale game already within Forge,
Oh, really? I didn't saw that.
which
I
is
didn't see that.
just absolutely nuts. But um, he actually created a map, has loot boxes, all of that stuff. Pretty crazy. This person here made Lord of the Rings in
Oh,
Halo.
wow. Oh,
This
I saw one with The Hobbit.
or yeah, The Hobbit, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Um, where's the other one? I have another one here where they made where is it? I don't okay, I must have accidentally not put up there, but they made like Toy Story and then they made
Yeah, I saw
Mario
that.
Kart as well. So it's crazy.
Oh,
So
Mario Kart.
yeah, they made Mario. So with all that in mind, like the question is, do you think Halo? What do you think Halo has? Well, I guess what do they have to do to come back? And do you think they can have a Cyberpunk story, which is like, could they ever have like 1 million people in their game per day? Which I think honestly, Halo as a franchise, it could happen if they would have had the release right and they would have had consistent content. But do you think they could ever get to something like this?
Yes, I think I do. They do, and I think they took the right approach, which it's what I wanted them to do, which was, just don't worry about the 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 close future, because you're so far behind. Unfortunately, you messed up. There's no coming back from that. You weren't ready for the content release, so you might as well just delay everything as much as you can, and then it's start from scratch from there. And then from there, make sure you have a great roadmap that you can actually hit, and then start coming with constant content from there on. Like every 3 months, you should come with enough content to make people happy for the next 3 months. I don't think even what is it, season 3 is gonna be it, but
No.
hopefully, season 4, season 5, that becomes it. And I think, well, I even saw information today that certain Affinity, they did confirm that they are working on this mode, or this something on Halo Infinite.
You know what?
So
This right here.
oh, oh, you got it. You
Yeah.
actually got it.
Yeah.
So hopefully, what I think they're going to do is they're gonna have that roadmap, and then they're gonna time it when they feel it's right, and that's when they're gonna go back with heavy marketing and be like, okay, this is where, from here on, is where Halo is back, and that's what they should do. But right now, they should just stay quiet, keep improving the game mechanics. Oh, well, not the game mechanics. Game mechanics are great, but the gameplay, keep adding content, fixing their store, fixing many things that people have been complaining about. And I think eventually, because I think hey, this is the best Halo gameplay wise to me,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
and feel wise. So all they need to do is fix the constant content.
Yeah, and I agree with you with the gameplay thing. That's why it's like so disappointing, I think, for a lot of people too, is that you have the prospect of it being just so good if they had tons of content and they just haven't
Yeah,
delivered yet. But again, I get it's been out a year, right? So
yeah. Another quick thing is, like, I seen my little two cousins. They love playing around on Roblox.
okay.
And it's crazy the things people make in Roblox, different type of games. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with this Halo. Like, people, Forge hasn't even come out, and they're making like so many like random things. And I feel like this could be, in that scenario, the Forge could be like the Roblox creator, but kind of like for people that want more mature content. Because Roblox, people think of it more like for kids, but this could be actually pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, from what we're seeing, like when you see something like this where some guys already made like a battle royale game in Forge,
Yeah,
it's just like it's crazy the amount of stuff that people are going to make. And I guess that's probably at the end of the day that's their end goal for Halo is to kind of make this Forge thing so amazing that the community will be able to create nonstop content. So, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I guess the only other thing that is if you're somebody who's not really into Forge, right? You just want to play like arena, you want to just play some more competitive game modes, you're kind of left out here with not with the amount of content that they've been giving. And hopefully they do pick that up because I think that's an extremely important side of Halo 2 is the more
Yeah.
competitive side. The casual side is with all I play, right? And that's what most people play. But I think the competitive side is extremely important too to keep this game like relevant for years and years.
I also think they have to fix even like this could actually help a bit even currently right now. Like if I want to play a quick play match and I want to play a certain mode, let me play that mode. Like you get what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that part.
I
Yeah, when they cycle them in and out, you can't choose.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like you said, there's also this from Certain Affinity, which I'm assuming is a battle royale game. We don't have like they pretty much just said that they can't comment on it other than they're working completely on Halo. I'll just read here what they said. They say here, but we're doing something unannounced and we're doing lead development on that unannounced thing from conception and design. It's something big and new for the franchise, but I can't say any more about it. That's our single largest project of our 3 projects currently. We have close to 100 developers working on that, which will make you believe something big and new. There's been the rumors of Battle Royale. Most likely it's Battle Royale. You can probably hang your hat on the fact that it is Battle Royale.
Yeah.
And we saw this. Again, these are all rumors, so take these with grains of salt, the infamous saying. But this person here tweets out that here is a summary by Bathrobe Spartan of the upcoming Halo Infinite Battle Royale mode based on the information they were able to discover. And they're saying here, summarize, all the things we found made us believe that Certain Affinity and 343 Industries are creating a different kind of BR game. While it's still about doing a top 1, you seem to have much more control about the loot and how you'll get it. Basically, you're playing a classic game types, control a zone, bring an objective to the point, etc. Of Halo within a giant map. It's not only about eliminating players to get their loot, it's about playing objectives to increase your loot and the control you have over it. It seems to be done this way so you rely less on RNG and luck to get your loadout, but more on tactical decisions and strategy. In the end, they're bringing Halo classic gameplay to a battle royale rather than just injecting battle royale within Halo with a very straightforward FPS gameplay without too much worries about the resource management and such. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, it sounds good that they're taking the approach, not thinking of, you know, making Halo adapt to the battle royale, rather making the battle royale adapt to Halo. But let's one thing is saying it, the other thing is actually implement. So I'm super excited to see what it's gonna look like. I already think of it. I kind of you know think sometime in my mind. A huge battle royale with all these players. You have the big tanks. You have the warhawks. You got the all the different type of vehicles. It's gonna be chaos. So I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, I mean, for me, hearing this about their battle royale is like I'm very happy to see it if they're going this direction because I'm not a big fan of battle royale games. I think the only game I've actually put in a ton of time into has been well, not even a ton of time, but put in an okay amount of time has been Apex Legends. But other than that, I get bored by the basic BR gameplay style of stuff. And if they're gonna make a game in the Halo universe that has a ton of players in a battle royale mode, but you can like go around and get objectives and actually have stuff to do throughout the entire game, I'll be happy. Because that's my biggest thing with battle royale is like I not good enough to go around and take everybody out. So I literally just run around, get loot, and then just sit in a corner for the entire game for like 10 minutes, just waiting for people to come by.
Yeah.
And I just get bored. But
Let me ask you this real quick. I don't know if this has been implemented in any battle royale, but what would you think if they implement? Of course, you have your battle royale players, but what if they also have like enemies, like like for example, if it's Halo, like they have the grunts, they have the elites, etc. They have them roaming around, so they can also kill you, and you can also kill them, and maybe
yeah, I
get
mean,
weapons from them or something.
yeah, it was in what was the game mode in Halo 5? It was like that big multiplayer mode where you would go and you would like kill the what was it, War or something. Anyways, there was a mode similar to that in Halo 5, which I found was a ton of fun, where they had NPCs as well in there, and I think that would be awesome to implement. Just something to keep you, like, let's say you go out, you find the best gear, something to keep you playing rather than just
Like,
camping
yeah,
type of thing.
yeah,
Which brings me to like, I'm just gonna transition this here, which brings me to like one of my biggest gripes right now with Modern Warfare 2 with the beta is that I feel like it's built for campers. Like you can't rush and stuff. And I don't know, maybe it's just my game playstyle. Maybe it's because I need that constant like engagement. I want to be running around and it's like super hard right now. And I've been watching people talk about it to see if I was the only one thinking like this. And I feel like a lot of people are thinking along those lines. Which brings me again to another thing I'm just thinking about here as I'm just rambling. If they come out with this Forge, if they come out with great stuff in the season 4, let's say they come out with a battle royale, Modern Warfare 2, I believe, is a 2-year game. Do you think that, and if it comes into Game Pass as well, which I know Halo is free to play, but like still Game Pass free to play, like people kind of think when it comes into Game Pass it's free, even though technically it's not. Do you think that will have any effect of people choosing to play um, Halo over Call of Duty? Do you think like any people will be going and be like, I'd rather just play Call of Duty right now than jump into whatever new content comes out for Halo?
Well, I'm hoping that they're smart enough to, distance whatever, new season they this will be. Let's say it's season 4, and it matches up with Modern Warfare 2, Game Pass release. They should at least, give it 2 months of a difference, or a month, or something like that. Because if you put them out together, which, if we think about things like, if they would have last year just released Forza Horizon 5, and then this holiday we would have had Halo Infinite, it would have actually worked much better for them. And then you would have had much time for Halo Infinite. Of course, people would have been pissed about it,
Yeah.
but the end result would have been much better.
Yeah, that's always something you got to kind of think about is they delayed it an entire year. People were pissed. But when it came to 2021, when they were about to release it, the hype was there and people wanted to jump in, and they did at the
Yeah.
start. So if they would have done the same thing and released it in 2022, would it have been the same result and they would have just had more content? People would have stayed longer. That's something that that's definitely like up in the air, I think. But
I think even if they would have released it with the content that they originally released it, people would have been, because people were happy at the beginning.
yeah,
People were happy at the multiplayer and at the campaign, and I would have probably done that. That way, the next 3 months I would have had, a bigger update, and then the 3 months later, that would have actually maybe have them set
yeah.
that, they unfortunately, we had to go through all these months without almost barely any content. But if they would have done that, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and we're seeing the results of the last year with everyone. Well, I guess Bonnie Ross leaving. That's the big thing. I
Yeah,
know if it's for family reasons, hope all the best. But like, there must have been some sort of like,
yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say. There must have been some sort of consequence for the result because you look at the player numbers, even on the Steam charts, like, yeah, it doesn't tell the whole story because you don't have the Xbox numbers, but the game has fallen off. At the end of the day, it's fallen off to an extent where there's other games that are just so much bigger than it. Like, Halo should be a game that's at the forefront of first person shooters, in my opinion. It should be up there with Call of Duty. So that's why it's kind of like, it's a I don't know, it's a big measuring stick and it's not even close to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna want to quickly shout out some of the people here in the chat. There's a crazy Louis here from XBI. Welcome. I saw Silent Cipher earlier as well. What's up, Raichi? Welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Pillsbury, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Super Duper Man 7691. Welcome to the Plumecast. Biggie Butters.
While you shout out the chat, let me go get something real quick. I want to show.
Cool. Biggie Butters, welcome. Yes, You're right. Camper confirmed. Well, at least in BR, I'm a camper 100%. 100% I'm a camper in BRs. But in like other game modes, I'm not. I like rushing, which is like I've talked about 3 or 4 times already on the show. Which is my problem right now with Modern Warfare 2 beta. It's an incredible game in terms of the look, and I think that it's going to be a massive game, and I'm going to be playing it right away. I just it's they've built Modern Warfare 2 for more like tactical camping style gameplay. But we'll see. Maybe they change up, especially with those how loud those footsteps are. What else? Who else we got in here? Gerald Mack, welcome. Smitty Smith, welcome to the chat. Welcome to Plumecast. Void Rat, welcome. Mike, welcome to Plumecast. Sully, welcome. John G, thank you for stopping by again, as usual. Appreciate it. Nate Joe, I see you in there as well. But let's see here. Forge looks fun to me. Is Forge launching in November? Unless they delay it again. I think the pre-release is coming, or like the beta is coming in November, and then the full release is after. But who knows, right? If they delay it again, it could be later. Fire Boss, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. Appreciate you stopping by. How's everyone doing tonight? Sour has gone for a bathroom break. Is he breaking the world record today, or is this going to be a very, very long bathroom break? What's his world record? That's what I want to know. But we got the next topics we're going to be going over is I'm talking about Xbox in Japan because their sales have gone up, and we never talked about this. I do want to go over it. It is the video from Phil Spencer talking about acquisitions and what they're doing and all that type of stuff. But as we know, Sourblow's back is 21 seconds is Sourblow's record. Did he break it? I didn't time it. Someone out there timing it in chat, please.
I can't hear.
Ooh, custom. Are those bullet shells?
Yeah, they're like bullet shells.
Damn, that looks
cool.
sick. That looks awesome. Yeah. How does it feel? Can you game with that, or is it just like for show?
Well, you can actually game with it, but yeah, I don't know how the thumbsticks, especially, I don't know how they will feel after a long.
You have to play like one night of like a first person shooter with it. See how it feels. Yeah. Where like is that like a custom? Where'd you get that controller? That looks awesome.
It's called let me see. Let me check real quick.
30 seconds. It must have been a huge one. Oh man. You take the dogs for a walk. I'll be listening though. Thanks, right, Big Brush. Appreciate it.
They're Dream controllers.
Okay, cool. Never heard of that, but that looks pretty cool. I don't have it with me, but when I first got my Xbox Series X, I think like maybe on the second day, I dropped my controller like from a high height. It wasn't like a small drop, so you can't blame the controller. It was completely my fault. And a little piece of plastic within the joystick shattered, so I had to take it apart, and then I put like these gold joysticks. That's the extent of my customization on my Xbox controller. But it was literally the second day. I was like, oh my god. All right. So I think I shouted everyone out here in the chat, or as many people as I could. Let's move on here to the next topic, and I just want to talk about Xbox in Japan because last week we had TGS, right?
Yes.
And TGS I thought was a good show. I thought that they showed a ton of great games coming to Game Pass, although nothing like brand new, nothing new release or anything like that, but games that people in Japan are definitely going to want to play, especially like those fighters like Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue. I've played Blaze Blue in the past. I haven't played Guilty Gear, both, but I've watched Guilty Gear at EVO. It looks like a ton of fun. and like Nino Kuni and stuff. All great games that people are going to want to play. So I thought that they did a good job. And we're seeing now that I don't know if this has any effect on it, but we have some sales numbers here from Japan. So we have the Xbox Series X and S has sold total of 14,077 units in Japan this week. So the week that just passed. Xbox Series X only 866 units, which I always find interesting. And then the Series S, 13,211 units. And I believe if we go down here, it outsold the PS5 in Japan that week. You can come up with multiple reasons why that is. Maybe it is stock, but I think there has been a nice push from Xbox in Japan, so it is paying off. And we take a look at this here, and you kind of see the trajectory, which is this line here, whatever color this is yellow, green. I don't know, I'm colorblind. Anyways, by the time you can see it going up, it's going to most likely surpass the Xbox 360 if they continue along these lines throughout this entire generation. So I guess my question to you, I want to get your thoughts on this. What did you think, one, about TGS, and what are your thoughts on the sales of Xbox this week? And do you think that TGS had any effect on Xbox selling as well as it did in the last week in Japan?
Okay, well, for me personally, I'm not as big in on Japanese games, so the show was decent, for me, but nothing that I was like super extremely excited about. But it's because those aren't my type of games. But I understand that there's a market for those type of games, and there's a market that Xbox kind of needs, and I do feel like, of course, uh, you know, Japanese people that were maybe, thinking about getting an Xbox, they see the showcase and they see that a lot of games that haven't been coming out, they actually are gonna come out, and they're coming. A lot of them are coming to Game Pass. That's pretty excited for them. And then of course you have the PlayStation price hike.
Yeah.
You got the Series S being the super cheap console, super small console that's very convenient for them, because the culture and everything. So I understand that, yes, Xbox is doing a pretty good push over there, that they're going to continue to grow. I feel like they maybe should be a little bit more aggressive, because I feel like this is their chance to really like become competition to PlayStation. I don't think to Nintendo, of course, but this is their chance. And maybe I hope that maybe this pushed them to make a handheld, because I would love a handheld from Xbox.
So, what do you think about the Logitech G Cloud? Since we're talking handhelds here, and you can have a sip of your drink before you answer if you want. I saw you trying to put that there.
All right, I'll have a drink. Okay, it looks amazing. It looks, it looks pretty comfortable. I'm just talking about how it looks.
Yeah.
And I think the size is cool and everything, and the way it looks, the hours that you can actually play, it's pretty good. But of course, it's cloud. But then the price to me, just made it a no for me. Um, I think if they could make a device like that, that's around $150, that's kind of a good price. Yeah, 150 would probably be pretty good, and maybe 200, and maybe bundle it up with a few months of Game Pass or something like that. I don't know if it's 200, but that price is too high.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like when we first got the leaks, I know we're veering off topic here, but when we first got the leaks about the Logitech G Cloud, I was like, okay, this could be a cool device if it has like a nice screen, or at least a decent enough screen, and it's portable and it has a really good battery. But the key is going to be like, what do they price this at? Because you think of something like the Steam Deck, and I think it's only like $50 more to get like the lowest version of the Steam Deck or something like that. And I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. $50, like, of course, right now. Well, I think to pre-order it, this device was 300.
Mhm.
but the actual price is 350. So, it's $50 more, and if you pre-order it, it's $100 more, which I still think the Steam Deck at $100 more, it's still the choice.
Yeah, and so I guess I have another question for you. So it'll be interesting if you've done this. Have you ever tried Xbox Cloud Gaming, like just on data or on like your mobile network?
Yes, I have. I
A-
have.
And is it working well? Was it fine?
I have tried it in different period of time. I would say, in the past, it wasn't really good. I
Okay.
would say right now it's good for certain type of games, like the JRPGs,
Yeah.
especially turn based. It's great. It works for great for that. Um, Several like kind of some of the indie games, it works great for them. But games that you really need like precision and stuff,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's there yet, unless you got a really good like you're connected to a Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi is really good.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
then you can, yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing too. It's like who's gonna you're gonna go spend the price the for the to pay for the Logic G Cloud, and like the majority of people are probably just gonna be playing this thing at home, like on
Yeah.
their own Wi-Fi. And it's almost like you spend $50 more and you get so
Well,
much capabilities with the Steam Deck. Like, why wouldn't you do that? I don't know how this thing is gonna even like.
that's another problem with this, that you have to kind of play it in your house
Yeah.
because it's only has a Wi-Fi. It doesn't have 5G.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So that's another thing that's a no for me. Like if it would at least had like 5G, you can at least say, okay, maybe when 5G is well implemented, you know, it also, and price drops down, but then it's like, what's the purpose of this?
yeah, and
I don't know.
it gets people talking about like because we know Xbox is like forefront in terms of like partnering with this. They've done their marketing. Game Pass is going to be right on there. It makes people start thinking, are they going to make their own handheld? Let's say this sells well, and I don't know if maybe they'll have statistics of some sort of people logging into Game Pass and playing Game Pass through this device. Will this force them in the future to make their own handheld where it's not just cloud, it's like you can download the games, it's pretty much just a Steam Deck? I don't think that they will. I know a lot of people want to. I know you said here just that it'd be cool if they did, but I don't know. I don't
I,
think that they will. I personally don't think they'll ever make it their own handheld.
I think the only way it would make really sense if somehow they can get the the hardware that the Series S have, and they could somehow shrink it and make it handheld, where you can use it for cloud, you can use it for Series S game, and then maybe you can use the that storage card, and you can move your games around that way.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would be game changer right there. But the problem is how are they going to cool that, and how they're going to make it a handheld.
Maybe closer to the end of the generation they could figure out a way, because even if you look at these numbers here, like was there only 866 units of the Series X in Japan? I don't know, but
Yeah.
obviously the market there loves the Series S in terms of the size and everything. And even myself, I'll be honest with you, like I absolutely love the Series S. I think it's I know people love to look at all the pixels and everything like that, but like the Series S to me, for what it is and the price of it, it's literally the best value and best deal in video games. I can't think of a
Oh,
better deal.
I got two. Yeah, so definitely, yeah. And
Yeah.
and the reason, real quick, that I think that's the best option for them is they can use the Series S. Because another thing is you got to think developers. Developers won't want to develop for another SKU of the
Yeah.
console. But if you make it the same, specification,
Mhm.
that's kind of like the same, designing for the same console. The only thing maybe they will have to uh, adjust the resolution for the screen of the handheld, which that would be easy, but it won't be extra work for them.
No. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be an interesting thing for an Xbox to make their own dedicated hand. And I think it would I think it would sell well. Just don't know if they want to put the resources and stuff with what they're going, and just they've already committed to the cloud so hard that
Yes.
I don't know if they want to kind of like deviate at all from that strategy based off of, I'm assuming based off of the numbers that they have from the amount of people playing Xbox Cloud Gaming, they've been pretty good for them. So they're going to continue to push that. But we'll see. I would love to see it. I know I have a Steam Deck. I have a Steam Deck. I absolutely love it. Like it's literally my Xbox handheld because you just download Windows and you get Game Pass on it. So I think it would definitely work. But I mean, Xbox in Japan right now, we look at this, they're going to probably pass the 360 by the end of this generation, which I think is actually very impressive because if you remember the 360, they had those exclusive JRPGs on there, only on 360, and that helped push the console itself. They even had games, I believe, that like only were sold in Japan and they were exclusive to the Xbox 360, which I don't know if they have now, but they probably don't. So the fact that they've been able to sell this thing with Game Pass, with cloud gaming, you can tell that their strategy and the work that they've put in there has been paying off, essentially. But any final thoughts on that before we move on to the final topic of the night?
Well, regarding Japan, I do, Sarah Bond did mention that they have like 250 developers working with them.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see what projects they're coming out with. They also, they asked her about specifically, I think it was Blue Dragon
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or something like that, and they
Yeah.
said that they are working on certain like Xbox kind of like exclusive with partners. I think that was it. I'm not 100% sure, but hopefully they can bring some of those like Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, and stuff like that. I'm sure there's a lot of fans that will be pretty hyped for that, and maybe they can make a Final Fantasy competitor. Maybe it could be Lost Odyssey.
And maybe Final Fantasy VII Remake will eventually come onto Xbox.
Hopefully one day.
Yeah, no, I saw that thing about the 250 developers, and my question was like, who and where and when did this ever happen? Because that was crazy. That seemed like a lot of developers there that we just don't know anything about. So there could be a lot of stuff coming out of that region. And on top of that, maybe there'll be future acquisitions. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, we saw Phil Spencer speaking about this future acquisitions from. I gotta pull it up here.
I hope they buy Pearl Abyss. I
Okay.
think it's called. I think they got a lot of potential.
I don't
It's
do.
it's a Korean. They made Black Desert.
Oh, okay, that was huge, wasn't it? Isn't that a big MMO?
Yeah, yeah, that's a big MMO, and they're currently working on 3 big games. They're working on an RPG that's called Desert. Wait, Black Desert, something Desert, I think, which is in the Black Desert universe. They're working on that Doki 5. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
And then they're working on this game called Plan 8. That game looks crazy. That game, it's kind of like a Titanfall mixed with like something. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean they gotta. I I wonder if what they're doing is they're talking to all these developers for more Game Pass games, or if they're looking at any acquisitions. One, I guess the studio they have right now is Tango GameWorks, and I'm very interested to see what comes from them because they've said that they don't want to just do the survival horror Evil Within style game, so they're going to be working on something completely new. So I wonder
Yes.
what that's going to be whenever they show that off. That'll be super interesting. And when it comes to acquisitions, there was this clip that was going around where Phil Spencer was asked about acquisitions, and he essentially said, "Well, I mean, we can listen to it quickly." At least
Tencent really starting to get involved in the space now? You've got Sony nibbling at the edges, or is it just about waiting and seeing what happens with Activision and then pressing pause for a little bit in terms of buying up other studios?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, you nailed it. This is such a competitive market. I don't think we get to press pause on anything. Tencent is the largest gaming company on the planet today, and they continue to heavily invest in gaming content and game creators. Sony is a larger business than we are in gaming today, and they continue to invest. When you look at the investments that we've made, it's a highly, highly competitive market. We strive to be a major player here. We want to deliver great content for our players, and we're going to remain active. Like I said, whether that's investing in our internal teams that are already building great games, that people know and love, whether it's building new partnerships. I mean, one of the things I love about coming here to Tokyo is the developers I get to meet with, the new partnerships we have with people like Kojima Productions, and going to talk to some of our existing publishing partners and independent creators about games that we want to build. And if it turns into acquisitive M&A work, we're active there too. So the work for us never ends. It's a competitive market, and I want to make sure Xbox is at the forefront of innovation and competition.
So there you have it. He was asked about more acquisitions. And my opinion on more acquisitions has always been like nothing's happening until Activision Blizzard deal goes through. And I think that's essentially for them too. They're not going to announce anything until after that, but they're actively looking. And one of the places they're probably actively looking all the time is going to be Japan. And what else he mentions here, which I find really interesting, is he specifically talks about Tencent. Tencent is a company that a lot of people like to kind of like, I think maybe forget how big they are and how powerful they are and how they continue to invest in companies. Like they just invest some more into Square Enix and stuff. And yes, they're dominant in the Chinese market, but they're trying, I think, their best to expand more and more. So Xbox has to continue to acquire studios and continue to increase their portfolio to be able to compete with that. I mean, we even kind of take a look at like the biggest companies right now, and like I said, Tencent is number one, followed by Sony. And it all ties back, I think, to like the competition. And when you hear Phil Spencer talking about stuff like this, you can see that they are just full on invested in the gaming industry. I can't even remember. I don't remember if they ever talked of this at all in the Xbox One generation. So I guess like my question to you, Sour, is do you think there's going to be other big acquisitions coming, smaller acquisitions? What do you want to see? Who do you want to, if you have anybody in mind you'd want them to acquire? Where do you want to see Xbox continue to expand, I guess, to compete and be able to take on the likes of a company like Tencent going forward?
Okay, well, well, there's a difference of what would I like and then what I think they would do strategically.
Give them both. Give me them both.
Okay, I would definitely like them to purchase Warner Brothers just because I would like to have the Batman IP and many other games, Mortal Kombat, etc.
Yeah.
I would also like them to get something like Capcom because Capcom, I would say, make a lot of the Japanese games that I kind of like, and maybe they can bring a lot of those old IPs that I used to like a lot from Capcom. But then, of course, that's kind of asking a little bit much for the world. But what I think they're going to do, and maybe that's what their approach should be, they're probably gonna start locking in a lot of these smaller developers, like Asobo, for example. They've been pretty connected to them. There's a lot of other teams that they're testing the waters with them, like Avalanche, which is making Contraband. They have IO Interactive, which they make the Hitman, and they're making the Project Dragon,
Yeah.
and there's many others like that. They're testing the waters. I think they're gonna try to secure them, and those are gonna be much easier to purchase. And I also think they're gonna hit other markets around the world, like other studios that some of them maybe we might know who they are, but some of them we might not even know who they are because they might come from random country, like from India, from Africa, or from Latin America. And you're gonna be like, who are these guys? We're not gonna know, but they know because they see what they're working behind the scenes. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what I think they're gonna start doing.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think one of the things with Xbox is their room for growth in other parts of the world is huge. Whereas like you think of like Japan specifically, right? Like they have so much room to grow, whereas Sony and Nintendo dominate those markets. And when you look at North America, you look at the United States, you look at Canada, and Mexico specifically, like the competition between Xbox and PlayStation is so close. And I think a lot of that is reflected in how PlayStation did their price changes and stuff, right? Like in the US, they didn't raise the price, but in these markets where they have such a huge grasp on the market, they raise them because they know people are still going to go out and purchase them. And it was less of a worry about them losing market share to Xbox. But when it comes to to all these studios, these smaller studios that we don't know about, that they're probably working with and seeing how they fit into the Xbox family. It's going to be huge for expanding Xbox into other parts of the world, and then also with cloud gaming. So I guess we'll see what they do. But after Activision Blizzard, like, are we going to get like another big? People are always thinking like, are they going to purchase EA? Are they going to purchase Sega? Are they going to purchase Warner Brothers? Now that's always been the rumors. And when you think about EA, it's like they've worked with EA for a decent amount of time now with EA Play or whatever's called EA Access coming into Xbox Game Pass. So maybe they're testing that out. Ubisoft, right? Ubisoft just got even putting the Ubisoft Plus onto the Xbox platform. Maybe that's something they're testing out as well. So there's so many things that they can go ahead and expand. There's always a worry about like consolidation, I guess. Are you worried at all about like this is going to be turning into just like 3 or 4 just juggernauts going at it, and it could potentially hurt like quality of games at all?
I mean, we should be worried about it, especially if, at the same time, we are greedy and we games on Game Pass,
Yeah.
and we just think like, oh, Microsoft should purchase this publisher because these games are coming to Game Pass. But eventually, if that happens, that is not good for us gamers, because then they're gonna control the market, and if they control the market, they can set the price. They can basically do whatever they want, and we got kind of have to roll with that. But if I would say if consolidation comes up with, there's 3 big companies, but these 3 big companies are really competing, and they're really trying to match each other, that might be even better for us, because we're gonna get 3 big company that they're gonna give us their best products. They're gonna try to make their customers happy, because at the same time, we also don't want, like, for example, right now we have so many media stream competition, and we have so many subscriptions that if we get all of them, it's like we originally liked it Netflix because it was going to save us money on on cable, but now it's like, okay, we're spending more than
Yeah.
if we had cable. So
Yeah,
so
that's a good point. It's like I've been going through like all my subscriptions. I've been canceling some recently, but it's just like they add up so fast. How many that
yeah,
you subscribe to just literally to watch maybe one show or one movie, and they're going along those lines with gaming, but it's not even. I don't think it's close to that yet, because like when you think about gaming subscriptions, how many people think about anything else other than Xbox Game Pass right now? Like how many people even right now know tons about like PlayStation Plus? I mean, it's there, but like I wonder what their numbers are and stuff. So yeah, we'll see. Like, well, if like Tencent were to make like a subscription service, and I don't know,
yeah,
Amazon at some point, if they get further into gaming. I think the one thing that I always think about when it comes to like these acquisitions and why it's kind of like um I don't want to see everything bought up by all these big companies. I do definitely want to see companies, developers stay independent and not be completely just owned by these big corporations and the shareholders, and be pushed to doing whatever that they tell them to do. The one thing though is that when Xbox does buy a developer, does buy a studio, at least at the end of the day, you're going to be able to play it in multiple places. So there's that part to it that's
yeah,
good. And then there's what we've seen so far, which could be kind of to the detriment to what Xbox's strategy is they are. It seems like they're completely hands off. Like as the big corporation looking down on the studios, trying to get them to do whatever they want. You look at some of the games like Pentiment that's coming out. If it was a huge corporation trying to make as much money as possible and suck every dime out of everybody, they probably wouldn't have greenlit Pentiment and let them take whatever. Or I guess that was before, but they probably would have taken those resources and put it back into other games, or like Grounded and from
yeah,
Obsidian, right? Like, so that part I think is good. I think that part's awesome that they're not overwatching everyone, but at the same time, it's like you look at 343 and they needed a leader at some point to get this thing on track faster, and it almost seems like they were just letting them continue to do whatever they were doing without anybody telling them that it was time to kind of move in one direction to get it going until I guess Bonnie Ross left or got fired or whatever. So there's like good and bad to both of it. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox buying up a bunch of stuff, right now, consumer friendly this side is on Xbox, and if we have to choose, I'm choosing Xbox on that part. So we'll see, and if they expand in Japan, we'll see what studios that they come up with. So, but yeah, that's Phil Spencer's CNBC still looking to acquire things, still looking to grow, and pretty much saying we have to with companies like Tencent out there. Let me just let me just get here to a super chat from an XBI panel member, Silent Cipher, with a $20 super chat. Appreciate that, Silent. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for the continued content, Plume. Great to see my brother Sourbloww on the show with you, and great conversations. Yeah, it's been. I agree, man. Great conversations. Awesome having Sourbloww here.
Thank you.
But I think like that's it. Those are all the topics for the day. You have any final thoughts on anything we talked about? Any wisdom you want to pass on to the chat, Sour, before we sign off?
I was just thinking about when you were talking about the, Microsoft being hands off.
Yeah.
I also think of it as a way of them kind of like telling other developers, like, look what we're doing. Even though like this studio is doing, like, they're having all these problems and all these issues, we're still hands off. So if you would like to join us, this is kind of a, what we're gonna do if we purchase you. Like, we're still gonna be hands off, and I think that's, that's very appealing for a lot of these studios that they're trying to maybe acquire in the future, and I think that's maybe part of their plan. What do you have it? Do you think the same way, or?
I actually never thought of it that way, but actually it sounds like it would be a very good strategy if they're. And I feel like you said, like as a developer, it's probably one of their biggest fears is getting bought up by these companies, and then having to put stuff into games that they just don't want to do, or work on projects that they don't care to work on. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and then you have, of course, we have a lot of economical issues right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of these studios are hurting, and eventually, when it gets to a point like, hey, we have to sell, who are the buyers? And we have, okay, Tencent is the buyer, Embracer is the buyer, Microsoft is the buyer. Who's the better option? Well, Microsoft's pretty hands off, so we're gonna be able to do whatever we want, and we're gonna get the backing from, a pretty healthy company. So
yeah,
maybe we should take that route.
And they're gonna get the backing of 25 plus million, whatever it is now, gamers instantly. They get to play the game into Game Pass, which is something that even as a small developer not owned by Xbox is probably just extremely appealing if you can get your game to a point where Xbox approaches you, or you approach Xbox and make a deal with them. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I never thought about that if from like the developer's point of view, where it's like, yeah, if this company isn't going to try to control everything we do, if we have multiple offers on the table, we'll go with them. So yeah, that could definitely work in their favor. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. That pretty much wraps up the topics. I just want to, before we sign off here, first of all, I want to say thank you to the chat for hanging out with us tonight. It was awesome to have you guys in here. Make sure to go check out Sourblow's channel. I will have everything linked. I'm gonna put a community post too, so you guys don't miss it. Go check out Sourblow's channel. He makes fan-made trailers, which are really good, awesome. I love the way you like work the music in there and stuff. It's really well done. And also go check out the Xbox International podcast on Crazy Louis' channel. So I'll have all those linked. But Sarah, I just want to say thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the great discussion. First guest on Plumecast. How did you feel being the first Plumecast guest?
It feels great. I'm super honored. Like I said, I've been following you, since a little bit. And I really like your content, so it's amazing to be your first guest. Wow.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I've been thinking about got to get guests on here. Got Sourbloww on here. I think it went awesome, and I hope the chat enjoyed it. And yeah, do you want, I guess I already called out all your channels, but you want to shout out yourself, shout out anybody, anything you want to say before we sign off here?
Well, you kind of said it, yeah. You can follow my channel, Cyberpunk 18, and make sure you follow Crazy Lou Gaming. Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We have a pretty chill podcast with Silent Cypher, Crazy Lou. We talk gaming. It's called Xbox International, but even though it's called Xbox International, we talk all gaming and we just have fun there.
All right, awesome, awesome. And for me, make sure to if you're new here, hit the subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff, and check out my weekly videos. And I will catch you guys next week in the Plumecast.